Hey guys, Jenner. So there's a lot on the agenda today. I'm going to start with what everybody will probably be interested in and go from there. I have a lot put up, and I know you're looking at a black screen right now. Give me a moment because I need to figure out where I want to start with this. First, I'm going to show you something on my own channel that I just posted because I want you to see it. That way you will know how this all started and how I know that this is confirmation and that this is correct information that I'm giving you, because there's a lot of bad misinformation out there. We know this, right, at this point. Okay, and some of this is very personal for me. It can be triggering, so just be patient with me. I would ask for your compassion and your patience. Samson is still working on his peanut butter behind me, so I will maintain as much professionalism and equilibrium as possible. I am going to shut the window so there's no background sound, and I'm going to pull up what I would like for you to take a look at for right now, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to share this. So take a look at that and read what's on the screen. So it was made known to me through signs and symbols what reincarnation really is. Now, it's not what they've told us it is, okay? And I don't have time to argue with people about how I know I'm right or I'm wrong. I'm just going to tell you, and it's up to you whether to accept, receive, and or believe the information. I know that it's correct. And why am I starting with personal information, and what does this have to do with Osiris? You'll see in a minute. And this is heartbreaking for me, so just bear with me. So you've read it now by now. It says, this is where they made it known to me or showed me that my youngest son's vessel, his temple, his body was now housing the spirit that I had known to be my spouse, or at least that's what they want me to think. I mean, it's very possible. It's still Satan playing with me, wanting me to believe that, but I'm 90% sure. You know, I could hold out hope that there was still some type of rapture, but considering some of the things that he said to me and some of the things that I know, I'm pretty sure they have a one of the 13 bloodlines. And you're going to say, well, then how are you there? I know that I'm not one of those bloodlines, because when all this kicked off and I was caring for his ailing father, he told me, he said, you're not family, you're not blood. And so did my sister-in-law. And I said, well, what? You're not blood either. You married in just like me. And nobody said anything. And that's when they started to cut me out of the family. And that's what you're going to start to see next is talk of, it's going to become very open that a lot of these families are related and have interbred to keep the money and the bloodlines pure and together and all, powerful, I guess, is what they're trying to do. Now, I know for most people, this is out of your framework of understanding, and this is exactly the problem. This is how they deceive us. They deceive us because we don't believe them when they tell us the truth. It's that simple. You see, they have us miseducated and dumbed down to such a point that we think certain technologies are impossible, that they don't exist, right? And so they're out of that we don't even consider them. And so when I tell you that this is how reincarnation works, most of you are going to walk away and not listen to me. But when I tell you about the raising of Osiris ritual, and that when I saw Trump's inauguration had changed location, and that's the first thing I thought of, and yesterday I mentioned it in the stream, and that's why I'm doing this today, I could not think of the name of the ritual. And so all it took was a couple simple Google searches. Any big YouTuber out there worth their salt who is not talking about this is a part of it. Most of the big YouTubers did their initiation rituals on their channels just a few years ago. You can go back and look at all of this for yourself. It's all documented. They have to leave it out there for you to see. And if you don't believe them, it's your fault. So they've shown me all of this, and I believe them. I've seen enough at this point. I'm not going to allow myself to continue to be deceived and then to lose my soul, because you can lose your soul because of this. Sam, please slow down a bit. I'm losing focus. All right, so through a variety of signs and symbols, it was made known to me. They wanted me to believe, or it was made known to me that my youngest son was housing the spirit that I knew to be my husband. How so? When me and my husband first got together, our thing was a yin yang. I got the tattoo and I got him a ring that had the yin yang on it. His girlfriend got those on her nails, and they had necklaces like that. And the red dragon is one of their things. I painted him a dragon when we first got together. I wanted a chocolate diamond. He got her a chocolate diamond. I used to dye my hair brown with blonde highlights. She did her hair like that shortly after I met her. Do I have to continue? I called him Bear when we first met. She calls him Bear on their social media. The number that he used to like, that he used for everything, now follows my son everywhere. The meals that used to be my husband's favorite, my son now eats. My son now treats his grandmother like she's his mother, like you see with Elon Musk. Do I need to keep going? So yes, in all these ways, they showed me that my husband's spirit was in my son's body. Keep that in mind. Some people might say, well, maybe this is the way the world works. What if this is just the way things are? Because I thought of that. Because they tried to get me, for a long time, there was a campaign to get me to believe and agree to reincarnation. Some of you were doing it. Some of you, Michael, you were emailing me all the time trying to get me to agree with you to this reincarnation bit. Stop trying to get me to consent to things. I'm standing firm. You're not going to get me to be persuaded. I'm not going to fall down this rabbit hole of paganism with you people. It's an abomination. These are abominations. And where are my sons? And I get into that a little bit as well when I talk about this. There's a live that goes along with this, I believe, and it's also on a playlist where I give every example as to how this was made known to me. Now, again, you're going to say, Jen, what does that have to do with this video? I'm going to tell you that this is a Freemasonry practice, and that Trump said something that I Googled because it hit my spirit funny, and I'm going to show you what he said here. Let me pull up the right page and share the right page with you. Give me 1 second. Right here. Here we go. News about Trump Golden Age quote. Donald Trump says Golden Age of America begins right now. That was him speaking in code. You're going to say, well, Jen, how do you know that? It was a very simple search was how I know that. Hold, please, as I go to a different page. Please hold. Sammy is drinking his water. This will be a good time for me to find something for you. Because there's a lot here. Sam. Shh. Enough. I apologize. All right, so I'm going to go to this page. Now, what I was talking about was Trump's quote about the Golden Age. All right. That comes from a prophecy directly attached to what is referred to as Raising Osiris, the man to God ritual or ceremony. When I saw that the inauguration had been changed, the location had been changed to that rotunda, that was the first thing that hit my memory, was this ritual. And I couldn't remember the name of it. Again, God gives me the memory of like a recorder, but it's not, it's not infallible. I still have to go look for the information and search for it. And so I promised you, I mentioned it yesterday, and here it is. So when I heard Trump mention the golden age, I went back to look for that as well. All of it's connected. Trump was speaking in code, first of all, when he said golden age. What else is attached to this golden age? Stargate. Trump has a program now called Stargate, okay? So hang on a second. I'm going to show you where all of this stuff is connected. All right? Hold, please. Come on now, search. There we go. All right. Let's go back to the right page here. And Stargate. Here we go. Share. So they're calling it a 500 billion investment in AI infrastructure. That is going to take a whole lot of electricity, a whole lot of cooling elements. And again, they're being deceptive about exactly what this is. So the terms Stargate and Golden Age have both been used by Trump in the last 24 hours. Why do you suppose that is? Because they are code for this ritual. All right, now I'm going to pull up another page, all right? This is just like the wiki search page. I just wanted to show you how I began the search, all right? Most of you might not be familiar with paganism. Some of us are. If you were raised in America, you have to... all right, so here we go. Now, remember the testimony I just gave you about myself and what happened with my husband and my son, how they showed me that the spirit of my husband is now in my son and my father-in-law is now in my husband. This is very hard to talk about. I don't wish anybody any harm. I am not going to do any harm to myself or anyone else. It's very important you understand that. I'm a pacifist. But that does not mean I'm not frustrated, and you're allowed to feel your emotions. And of course, I'm angry. I never consented, and I want to know where my sons are. But again, if you go back to those testimony videos, I explain how it was made known to me. So, what is the Osiris rising ceremony, and what does it have to do with an golden age of America prophecy? And what does it have to do with the term Stargate? Well, we got to go back, as usual, to ancient Egypt and Babylon. And here's another thing I want to tell you. People are still blinded. They still haven't figured it out yet. Why do you suppose the AntiChrist would be the leader of America? Why? And I got to look at you while I say this. Is anyone here? One person. Why do you suppose the Antichrist would be an American leader? Why? Why would the Antichrist be an American leader? Because this is Israel. This is Babylon. America is the landmass. This is all of it. And most of us aren't allowed to travel if you're a real living being. All right, so this comes from Thomas Horn. A lot of this stuff does, but in ancient Egypt, the mother goddess was Isis, and they've basically turned me into Isis, into a flippin' pagan, and I mean no disrespect to the real Isis, because again, A lot of these systems were before Christ. There was no Savior yet. And it's related to black goo directly, ferrofluid, graphene, whatever you want to call that stuff that they find on the sarcophagus. And I've showed you all that too in the black goo videos. It's all connected, man. And this is for Lord Henry. Send this information to that cat over at TikTok. He's missing this bit. The egg in the sky with the serpent. Yeah, in the planetary alignment yesterday, this is the ritual that attaches to that. Okay, so let's get cooking. In ancient Egypt, the mother goddess was Isis. Her brother husband, God help us all, Osiris, was killed before his corpse was dissected into 14 pieces. I heard 13, but whatever, and scattered throughout the land. This shattering of Osiris before the pieces of his corpse were scattered. Hold, please. You know, you do understand, too, when they say that organization, ISIS, you do know what they're talking about, right? They were looking for all the parts of Osiris to resurrect him. That's what they're doing. That's what they've done. You get that, right? And that he can look like anyone he wants to look like. All the wars in the Middle East, yeah, it was to get all those parts of him, or the last part of him, his head, to find his head. I think that was the last part, but I know that that's what the wars were about. Let's continue. Isis worked to place all the pieces of Osiris back together, but his, whaties were never found. She replaced the lost organ with a facsimile, a proxy, and reconstructed him before impregnating herself to produce an offspring. Thenceforth, Osiris was known as the god of the dead, as was the Babylonian god, I apologize if I mispronounce this, Ereshkigal, and the Greek god Hades. And their offspring, a son named Horus, became known as God of the living, or the Son of God, like Christ. The pharaohs of Egypt were considered the sons of God, the sun god Ra. In this, or Re, sun rays, Ra, in the same way that Isis worked to reassemble the pieces of Osiris and produce a divine offspring, the New World Order is the resemblance of Babylon and will produce a divine offspring. The AntiChrist will come to rule over all the nations. Symbolic of the resurrection of Osiris, the modern resurrection of Babylon aims to unite all the mystery religions under one rule of Osiris, the God of the dead. In the gospel accounts, Jesus tells us that he is the God of the living. Since World War I and II, the royal political elites have been obsessed with uniting the world under a single geopolitical system. The city of London is the financial capital, the Vatican is the religious capital, and Washington is the military capital. I would not disagree, but I'd say Vatican is like the financial capital almost. Okay, so now this gets into Horn says if the DC diagram is interpreted based on, let's make sure everything's okay here and you guys are seeing what you're supposed to be seeing. Okay, cool. Horn says if the DC diagram is interpreted based on the classical and fixed meaning of the combined symbols and beliefs of the designers, not only did the metaphysicians among America's founders who had controlled the capital's layout plan a city in honor of the return of Apollo and Apollo/Osiris and the dawn of his new golden pagan age, the Great Seal. But the blueprint in DC and the rituals conducted by Freemasons, both modern and historic, illustrate a high degree of operatic intended to bring the prophecy about. The sole purpose of the rituals and these constructs is to raise the spirit of Osiris from the underworld into human form. This incarnation of Osiris is parodied in the House of the Temple, Herodom, during the changes in U.S. presidents, says Horn. So what he's saying there is when there's a transfer of power, like we're seeing now from Biden to Trump, that is symbolic for the incarnation of Osiris coming into human form. So let me ask you again then, Why is all of this portrayed in American politics if America is not in the Bible? If all of these teachers keep telling us not to worry about America, America isn't in the Bible. Because they want to be able to shock and awe you all. There's not a whole lot of us compared to them. Only, what, 144,000? That's not a lot to trick and fool, to gaslight, to track, to keep from traveling and flying, to miseducate. Like, not a lot at all. That means most of the people who listen to me and watch me are of the kingdom of darkness. But I know that the tribulation is a time of salvation, or it would not occur. There would not be any purpose for it at all. God would just come get his children, and that would be that. But there is a purpose for it. There will be people saved somehow, some way. So we keep going and we keep pushing. We are being refined. Our souls are evolving. That word should not scare anyone. So that's what they're saying, is that our transfer of power between presidents is the symbolism for Osiris coming into physical form. Okay? But the ritual in DC is rehearsed in anticipation of a greater moment in time when the literal physical return of the entity Apollo/Osiris will give birth to the Novus Ordo. This is why New Order Mass is bad too. Do you see how the whole world is coming in order with it? Like, that's why I'm not going to be able to go to church anymore. The second that my pseudo spouse was able to walk into that church, I knew that organized religion was done, that I could not go anymore. And now I'm getting the ringing in my right ear, or at least in that church. God is allowing me to witness, and he's showing me in the way that I can see, which is my everyday life and through the screens. He's peeling back the curtain personally for me. And there goes my dog, and I knew that was going to happen. I have to keep going because this is my job. Further evidence, says Horn, is that these same symbols were faithfully reproduced at the house of the temple. This includes the 13th. Wait, hold. This incarnation. Okay, we got that. Think of these rituals in the house of the temple as a warm up for the Antichrist's actual second coming. Wait, a warm up for the Antichrist's second coming? Okay. To assure the arrival will not be impeded by the influence of Christianity, which so many of America's citizens have been devoted to since the country's founding, the lost symbol Bible was placed in a magic binding square inside the testes of the DC obelisk of Osiris, the Washington Monument. The lost symbol Bible? What is that? According to the occultism, this binding utility is meant to restrain the Bible's influence while allowing the seed of Osiris to materialize. The actual measurements and design of the Washington Monument support Dr. Horn's finding, as the graphics on this page illustrate. Wow. Okay, so we have to pray against that binding, guys. Heavenly Father, I pray against the binding in the Washington Monument, against your word. I pray that your word and your spirit pours down upon all the people of America in Jesus' name. Further evidence, says Horn, is that these same symbols were faithfully reproduced at the house of the temple. This includes the 13-step uncapped pyramid, like the one on the Great Seal, and the pyramidion on top of the Washington obelisk, made of the 13 rolls of marble hidden beneath the aluminum sheeting that rests atop the house of the temple, and magic binding square with the same numerical values as the Washington obelisk. The magic square can be seen in the skylight above the temple room, which intentionally hovers over where the raising of Osiris ceremony is performed. So where is this at? At the Washington Monument? House of the temple. Okay, so most of us know about this, right? Okay, now he's trying to sell his book, so we're gonna... Oh, in his first 100 days. So everything they say is like from, didn't he, and he says, in 72 days, and on the 73rd day, I will rest. They're totally like inverting and perverting what God has done. By the lodge's own admission, their 36-cube skylight symbolizes the vault of heaven and is a stylized magic square of the sun god Apollo/Osiris, used for binding and loosing the supernatural presence. The skylight magic square represents the celestial influences, while the square at the Washington obelisk represents the earthly or other underworldly, powers. When these two counts of 36 are joined, the complete 72 supernatural agents, 36 plus 36, within their occult system are recognized. Hold, please. Also, allegedly, 72 names of God, 72 names of demons, 72 sigils for angels and demons. We will even point out how Obama, like George Bush before him, sent the appropriate signal to those who were meant to understand it when he acknowledged this mystical value, 72, saying he would complete his first 100 days in 72 days, and on the 73rd day, I will rest. Yeah, because they all say this stuff. They all say it. And that's the thing. Which one will it actually come to fruition with? Which one will the spirit of Osiris actually inhabit or come to inhabit and manifest? And the skies or the signs in the heaven that we've seen the last few years say that that is happening now. Hold, please. I'm going to skim a little bit. Now the last age by Kumi Sybil's sung has come and gone, and the majestic roll of circling centuries begins anew. Justice returns old Saturn's reign with a new breed of men sent down from heaven. Only do thou at the boy's birth, in whom the iron shall cease, the golden race arise. Befriend him, chaste Lucina, 'tis thine own Apollo reigns. He shall receive the life of gods and see heroes with gods commingling, and himself be seen of them, and with his father's worth reign over a world with his father's wealth. Could it be barren? And now when I say that my husband is the Antichrist, or his spirit is the Antichrist, please understand all the Freemasons are doing this. They're of one mind. They're of one accord. That's how I know we are in that day now, and it is happening now. I am going to have to go check on my dog. Please hold. Don't go anywhere. I will be back momentarily. Oh, I know who my listener is now. It's somebody in my house. They don't want me to hear the echo. Hold, please. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Okay, so let me get back to it. I don't want to take up too much longer, but I do have a few other points to cover. All right, so again, they are all of one mind. All of the Freemasons are doing this. And again, not the ones who are lower level, who aren't of the bloodline, right bloodline. The only ones who can do this are the ones, this false reincarnation system where the older ones go into the younger vessels. You have to be of the same bloodline. This is why you see so many people doing these DNA tests now. This is why it's so important to the Mormons, because the Nephilim, or the evil spirits, they have nothing else, right? They can't go to heaven, allegedly. They're not made to go to hell, but they can't really leave Earth either, right? They are of the earth and of heaven, and like, so they stay here. And when their bodies die, their spirits, I mean, that must be kind of miserable, to be honest. So this is their option. This is what they do, is this reincarnation system. And again, I have sympathy for the devil in that way. My problem is them trying to enslave mankind and not telling us the truth about our situation here, and not letting us know our situation, because the real situation is that we are sovereign over them and we are above them in the hierarchy. So if anyone wanted to enslave anyone, we would have that power over them, but I would not suggest acting like that. Just like we have dominion over the earth and animals, but in the end times, God gives dominion over man. They come out of the forest, and God allows them to do certain things because man is in error, right? We've given into too much temptation. We've allowed ourselves to be corrupted too long. We've believed the lies and not believed the truth when they've given us the truth. However, they have greatly superseded and ignored and outright bypassed our free will. So that is not going to happen. This can't go on forever. So it says, Dr. Horn says to understand why such a fanciful prophecy about Apollo, the son of Jupiter, returning to Earth should be important. In ancient literature, Jupiter was the Roman replacement. My son just named his new son, my son who houses the spirit of my husband, named his son Roman. They made a pagan of me and my children. They've made a mockery of my life. They've made us abominations, and they expect me not to make a stand. They are certifiably insane. The joke's on them, man. I dodged a bullet. If I would not have been alerted to what was happening, I would have accidentally consented and agreed to this mess of stuff. And right now, my spirit would be in a different body, and I would be damned. I would have accidentally agreed to all this because he was still wanting me, whoever he is. Because he's still making the one he has now do her hair like me. Oh, God, this is so gross. I'm so grossed out. Oh, okay. I'm doing this to help other people. This is not about me. Counter Yahweh. All right. The beast that, okay. All right. Counter Yahweh that will inhabit the political leader of the end times, Novos Ordo Seclorum, the New World Order. According to several key phrases in the Bible, the Antichrist will be the progeny or incarnation of the ancient spirit Apollo. Funny thing, my mom was abandoned by her mother, allegedly, and she told me that she was from a town in Pennsylvania called Apollo. And yeah, there is a town in PA. That Apollo's Gate isn't. Isn't the LHC literally Apollo's gate? Man, I'm so tied up in this junk. I think that's why God wants me witnessing, like, here and let me be asleep for a long time, just so they would have one among them. They're probably so mad. Second Thessalonians 2:3 warns, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed. And let's be clear, the falling away is the falling away of the veil. That day won't come unless there's a falling away and the man of sin be revealed. You need to read context, right? Right here we're seeing falling away first, and then something is revealed. Well, what falls away for something to be revealed? A curtain on a stage, clothing, fabric, a drape, a veil, right? So it's the veil that is these teachers, like, they're not even using common sense, man. The falling away is the veil before our eyes. And that is when we will know the man of sin, the son of perdition, Apollyon, Apollo, also directly ties the coming of the Antichrist with Apollo, revealing that the beast shall ascend from the bottomless pit and enter him. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Meaning, all those who are not saved are going to look to him with wonder and awe, like he is just the bee's knees. Who's being looked at like that right now? I did not think Trump was the Antichrist, but he is definitely, he's like St. John from the wilderness when he ushered in Christ, right? So what would Trump be then? The false prophet that ushers in the Antichrist? Everyone wants to give the Pope that title. Man, we don't even know what the Pope is saying, guys. People could be misquoting him. Unless you speak fluent Latin, don't let your, don't be falsely accusing people and falling in with other people. All these people want you to do is fall in with them and be guilty instead of cantism and gossip. I mean, there's a point. There's a point. The second part of the final mystery, the Great Seal of the United States, unveils when Apollo is scheduled to arrive according to the seal's cipher and Doctor of Horns. While I have multiple other alumni have been increasing around the world over the last to herald the inauguration by constructing. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to close out this page and go to a different one so that I can make sure that I show you guys a little bit of everything. All right, so the legend of Osiris and Isis, the connection with Apollo, the magic number 13, and the history surrounding their mythos is often openly discussed in Masonic and Brotherhood-friendly literature. And let's be clear, too, most normal people don't go around calling each other brother. When I see that in the comment sections, it's quite obvious who y'all are. Regular folks don't do that crap. God, I can't stand meatheads, man. Like, can you at least learn, like read a book, play a game of chess, something. Like, adding that lower level Masons, blue Masonry, are ignorant of its true meaning. Oh, they're ignorant, all right. Pike also spoke of the star Sirius connecting to Isis at length to Satan and Lucifer as still glittering in the Masonic lodges as the blazing stars. Elsewhere in Morals and Dogma, Pike reiterated that the all-seeing eye was the emblem of Osiris and the sun termed by the Greek the eye of Jupiter. All right, so we know that. The Trinity, I just want to see if there's anything else I had to address regarding this for you guys. Now, there is an area where it mentions a stargate, so give me a second to find that for you. Raising Osiris from the dead, aka herein. And Mormons do that too. Like, I could literally do this all day long with you guys. Here it is. I found it. All right, hang on one second because I'm going to do something here. And I apologize. My puppy is, I just changed his bedding. Somebody decided that they were going to damage him a couple of years ago, and I'm his caretaker, so it's constant. All right, so here it is. As I started describing the obelisk facing the dome and the rich Egyptian symbolism involving Osiris, Isis, the Freemasons, and how the mechanics of these magical devices were specifically designed to open a doorway or stargate that allows Osiris to arise from the underworld to take his rightful place inside every U.S. president. More on that in a bit. So, I've honestly never heard another president refer to Stargate, though. They may have referred to the first 100 days or the first 70. Never heard another one refer to Stargate the way Trump just did. And we never saw another one have their inauguration at the Rotunda. So again, this is not looking good, especially with the alignments and this egg that everyone saw in the sky. But I'm going to go ahead and see if there's anything else here. Okay. The first temple, the Athenian Empire was known as Osiris. They were acting on an ancient hope that is meant to be fulfilled. Yeah, George Bush said that. I'm just looking at a couple things really quickly. Now, I can give this to you guys. I'm going to share this. This tells you, this is a PDF file. I can link it if you want it in the description. This goes over pretty much everything. The whole plan of how this ritual is supposed to bring Osiris into the body of the U.S. president. And again, I ask you, why is the USA within Jerusalem? Why are the letters USA inside of Jerusalem? Why do they say America is not in biblical prophecy if they want to resurrect and raise Osiris into the body of a U.S. president? Why would the AntiChrist be a U.S. president if America is not in biblical prophecy? Because America is Babylon. We are in Egypt, Israel. It's all connected. There is no America, really. It is an experiment. So anyone that does not want to stay, you don't have to, obviously. But I'm going to pull a couple more things up if I can here for you. Final. Pull up an image because I wanted to go over something. Well, you know what? I'm going to do a vlog, I think, a little bit later. Here's the other page. Let me share this. Here's the other thing that I found. And this is the Capitol. So this is where Trump had his inauguration. This is the last thing regarding this topic. This is where he was inaugurated, gang. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, are those planets actually lining up tonight? I don't know what to think. So Trump being inaugurated here is telling you, but was he actually inaugurated? He did not put his hand on the Bible. He was just there. So who was Osiris going into? They're just, again, what they're showing us on the screens is just symbolic. Capitol building rotunda at Washington, D.C., depicting the apotheosis of Washington, the divinity of Washington. Theosis means union with God. That's Latin for union with God. What every Catholic or what every soul should try to achieve is union with God, right? To have that union with God. Apotheosis is a little different. Now, this tells you what each one represents, right? Neptune is the Roman god or sea god. domination of the sea. And this is the one that we're kind of seeing a lot of recently. Most of them are Roman gods, right? But this depicts Washington becoming a god, the first U.S. president. Little g gods, whatever you want to call them. And we see all the numerology here, and on it goes. Dome and obelisks are energy receivers. The seed of the dead deity would transmit upward out from the underworld. Osiris would be born again or reincarnated as Horus over and over. All right, guys. So it's looking really bad. And I know people don't want to believe that. But again, I'm going to tell you what everyone missed. When Christ went, I touched on this a little bit yesterday about the character of Donald Trump and his apartment, Trump Towers, with all of his gold and his filigree and all of his material belongings, and even all of these Christian men right now who are promoting him, alleged godly men of God, right? When Satan had Christ at the top of the mountain, and he said, I will give you all of these kingdoms if you but bow down to me. The Son of Man didn't even have a place to lay his head. He did not take any shekels. He did not take any kingdoms, materially speaking. Why, then, I ask you, are you Christian people following this man? He is not godly. And we're in a world of shit. And if you can't see that now, after all the money he's given to this AI infrastructure, what does that actually mean? What does that actually mean? I have a vlog that I'm going to do, probably face to face, and it's going to be an upload. Watch for it, because I think that it's rather important and it goes along with the story, but I need to go care for my dog now. And this is actually everything that I had to show you regarding the Stargate, his Golden Age quote, and the raising of Osiris ceremony. Please pass this information along. People need to know that they are speaking in code, and all the promises he makes don't even matter. The fact that he's signing all this crap in Sharpie marker should tell you something. It tells me something. It tells me I knew the AntiChrist spirit because he used to steal my Sharpies all the time. And that's fact, Jack. Love you guys. Have a blessed day. Please pray for me as I pray for you. Bye. I helped create the AntiChrist, I think. God forgive me.